it is not sustainable for us to continue to live here.
I hate having to choose between my prescriptions to make me healthy and feeding my kids.
The cost of living keeps rising, but wages aren't keeping up.
We are not reaping what we sow. We are just in the field like donkeys.
Americans are working, budgeting, and sacrificing more than ever before. But despite all that effort, millions feels like they are falling behind. The cost of living is rising so fast that simply many cannot do it anymore. Make sure you guys subscribe, share, comment. Let's check out these clips.
Hey, quick question. Why is everything so fucking expensive?
I hate this fucking country right now. I hate the struggles that middle class people have to go through. I hate having to choose between my prescriptions to make me healthy and feeding my kids. And no, I didn't vote for that fucking orange pimple. I voted for common sense and integrity. But I can't afford anything right now. I'm struggling. And I know I'm not alone. I don't know what to do anymore.
Does anyone actually have the will to live in 2026? Because it just seems like there is no incentive to continue on and to keep fighting. Like, we can work our asses off and we still can't afford rent. We can't even afford our car note at this point. I just don't understand, like, why we're putting in all this effort when the fruits of our labor are rotten by the time we go to harvest them. It's like we're doing all of this for absolutely nothing. There is no harvest. We are not reaping what we sow. We are just in the field like donkeys, hacking the ground that's completely dry, that will yield absolutely nothing. It's like the fields that were once abundant for our ancestors are now absolutely empty, and we're expected to till and manage the same fields that cannot sustain life anymore, metaphorically, obviously. I'm just wondering if there's actually anyone out there that has the will to live these days, because it literally seems like there is no incentive to continue on this existence. What do you guys think?
I will be moving into my car tonight. Me and my dog Bandit have been living here in this hotel for the past 45 days, and our renewal has come due, and it is not sustainable for us to continue to live here. This has been, I'm sorry guys, this is a hard video to make. It is not sustainable to live here anymore. While it is less expensive than a one-bedroom apartment when you factor in the utilities, it is still very expensive. And most of the people that live in here, there's two incomes. There's two people working to pay for the room. I am just one person, and I have been running myself into the ground trying to keep up with the rent here. I have been working crazy hours trying to grind as much as I can, and each week I barely scrape by, and it's not sustainable to do this. I don't get to spend the time that I would like with Bandit. I don't have any time for self-care. I literally work as long as I possibly can. I come home, I take Bandit for a walk, I feed him, take care of him, and then I pass out in the bed there because I am so exhausted. It is just not sustainable.
You know what's crazy to me is how 1,000 a week isn't enough anymore. Like, You can't really live off 1,000 a week. I mean, yeah, you can if you get some like raggedy ass apartment with 1 bedroom, okay, and that's gonna cost you over 1,000 a month now. And then you got cars that are selling like 20,000 at the minimum for brand new cars. Okay, they're around 20 to 30,000 a year. You're gonna have a car payment of like 400 a month for like 6 years. And life is just not fucking affordable anymore, dude. And gas prices is $5 a gallon now. Our food price is gonna go up like it did in COVID? Probably. And it goes up and it never goes back down. Once the gas prices are down, food prices stay up. Everything is not affordable anymore. What the fuck's going on in America? I'm sick of this shit. I want I just want a better life. I want to have a nice house on a lake with a boat. Is that too much to ask for? Why the hell am I making over 1,000 a week and I can only afford one bedroom apartment? It's bullshit, guys.
Families are struggling. The cost of living keeps rising, but wages aren't keeping up. People are struggling to afford groceries, gas, and electricity. And in Nevada's dangerously hot, extreme heat, energy is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And families should never have to choose between keeping the lights on and putting food on the table. And we know that these burdens are falling the hardest on our Black and Latina communities, who spend a larger share of their income on energy costs. That's not fair, and it's not sustainable. Yet year after year, NV Energy comes back asking for more rate increases and more profits, while working families are asked to pay the price. Enough is enough. Nevadans cannot afford higher utility bills. At the same time, NV Energy is backing away from Nevada's clean energy future. Instead of accelerating investments in affordable clean energy, they're proposing more fossil fuel infrastructure to meet the growing demand from data centers. But Nevadans have already made our priorities clear. We want clean, affordable energy. We want lower bills. We want healthy communities and a livable future for our children. State leaders must stand with Nevada families, not corporate monopolies. Protect consumers, hold utilities accountable, invest in a clean energy future that works for everyone. Our families deserve affordable bills. Our communities deserve clean air, and our children deserve a livable future. Thank you.
The phrase "the cost of living" has just become way too normalised, and the phrase itself is fucking weird when you sit and think about it. Who the fuck decided that if you don't go out and create wealth for shareholders, executives, and the ruling class, then you basically don't deserve basic things such as food, water, housing, and healthcare? Oh, well, that's just life, isn't it? I've got some fucking news for you. No, it's fucking well not. It's literally all fucking made up. Money, the stock market, economics, it's all fucking made up. It's not an intrinsic part woven into the fabric of the fucking universe we live in. Money isn't some sort of naturally occurring element that is an essential part of a human being existing on this planet. Money is literally pieces of paper, pieces of metal, and literally numbers on a fucking screen.
$25 an hour isn't a living wage in 2026. When a few groceries from the store cost $70, when people are paying anywhere from $80 to $200 a week for gas, when the median rent prices are anywhere from $1,500 to $1,700 a month, it's no longer obtainable. It literally feels like working anymore is a scam, and you're selling all of your time for nothing. You're flushing your entire life down the toilet, and you're not even getting anything out of it anymore. A few short years ago, people were able to comfortably get by on $25 an hour. Now it's completely out of the water. People are out here making the most money that they've ever made in their lives, yet they're the brokest they've ever been. It's not bad money management, it's an economy that feels impossible. How much longer do we have until we rise up against this corrupt administration, tell them that we're not doing this anymore, because it's not working out for any of us, and I personally believe that us as human beings deserve a better quality of life. And until we can afford healthy food, until we can afford housing, insurance, healthcare, life necessities, there literally is no point in working at all.
At this point, I seriously think Gen Z is just screwed. In 2026, Gen Z just simply earns way less than it costs to survive. The average Gen Zer makes about $25K a year, which is around $21,000 a month, and spends basically all of it on bills or rent. Nearly half of Gen Z runs out of money before the end of the month ends, and that's not just budgeting, that's just survival at that point. And don't get me started on student loan debt, because the average Gen Zer also has about 30K of student loan debt on top of all of that. We are spending more on essentials than any other previous generation, and wages just keep going down, and the cost of living just keeps going up. You're not failing in life. The system is just completely fucked us over. Budgeting does help, don't get me wrong. I still use mine to budget and track all of my expenses, but the system is still failing us.
The median household in Pennsylvania earns about $78,000 a year. I'm not talking about average salary, I'm talking about the median household. Pretty decent, right? Well, that's before taxes, before rent or a mortgage, before groceries, before utilities, before car payments, insurance, healthcare. The average Pennsylvanian is already paying about $1,200 to $1,600 in rent per month. That's over $14,000 a year before any utility bill is paid. Meanwhile, the cost of everyday essentials has continued to rise while paychecks are not stretching as far as they used to. That's why so many Pennsylvanians are saying that they're making more money than ever, but feeling like they have so much less left over at the end of the month. The affordability crisis isn't just housing. It's about the growing gap between what life costs and what people earn. More and more Pennsylvanians are feeling that gap every single year.
When do you think they'll get it? When do you think they're going to understand that people cannot afford the lives that they want? They can't afford the children. The generations will continue to get smaller. People will continue having fewer children. When do you think that's going to happen? Like, it's not a matter of, oh, well, it's just like a minor dip. It's a matter of the fact that people can barely make it work on their own. Or if you're in a situation like myself, I'm finally making really good money. I'm not going to immediately funnel that to a freaking kid. No, absolutely not. And yet the cost of living is still insane. Inflation's still insane. Housing still insane. And it's like they just think that they can continue to escalate on every front and everyone's still going to comply. Like, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to collapse. Like, I just don't understand why this is all coming as a surprise for them. They just think they can squeeze more and more and more. Everyone's increasing their prices on every front and saying, why isn't anyone having children? Gee, I wonder.
Why the fuck is nobody talking about how the economy is in shambles? We got World War III going on. You got rent costing an arm and a fucking leg. My car insurance as a young male is damn near $4,000 for 2 cars. I got an AMG GLE coupe. And then on top of that, I ain't gonna lie, I got my mama car on my insurance. Don't ask me why the fuck I got my mom car on my insurance, but I do, okay? So, between these couple of things, life is crazy.
At this point, if you're asking me about when I'm going to have kids in this economy, under this administration, with all these wars and these policies going on, I'm just going to consider you my op. If it isn't my insurance going up 250% this year, my grocery bill being outrageous, all this anger in this world, I had to break up with my last girl. Switch out all my high-end skincare, things that made my quality of life better. What am I giving them up for? What is the play? Girls walk around here looking crazy. Wars in Iran. Can millennials have a break? And if my last girl's watching this, don't get me off your mailing list. I'm in Georgia, especially living here in Atlanta. It is so expensive. And rent going up too. It's giving LA cost of living without the wages. It does make you question what the future looks like. Will I be able to even afford a child? This administration, I'm gonna need them to step up. And I wonder, like, what does that look like for me and my homegirls? Just seems like since 2025, this administration has made all of these decisions, but we're the one paying for it. What's some things that you had to sacrifice because things are getting so expensive this year?
Texas was pitched to Gen Z as the affordable option for years, but this isn't really true anymore. Financially, Texas used to make sense. No income tax, more space, good jobs, lower cost of living compared to states like New York or California. But here's what nobody told you. The average rent prices in major Texas cities such as Austin, Dallas, and Houston have rose over 30% since 2020. One-bedroom apartment in Austin can push almost $1,500 a month. Meanwhile, entry-level salaries haven't moved nearly at the same rate. So you end up working full-time and living paycheck to paycheck in a state that was proposed as cheap. It's not just rent. Gas, groceries, monthly utility bills, it all starts to add up, especially when you're a young person trying to build wealth for yourself. I wouldn't say Texas is unlivable for Gen Z yet, but the affordability of the state is definitely something worth considering.
Okay, real quick, it was my 30th birthday this weekend. Woo, very exciting, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, because my mom, she brought this thing that's like, back in 1996, you know, it's got sports team, news, president, that type of thing, right? But I want to look at the what things cost. We were like going over this when my friends came over and whatnot. What things cost? New car, $16,000. Movie ticket, $4.42. Gallon of milk, $2.73. Gallon of gas, $1.26. $1.26. A dozen eggs, $1.31. Insane. Absolutely insane. It shows up here. I'm assuming this means like American, United States average income, yearly income, $35,000. $35,000. Absolutely insane just to think about. And then some other fun things like the slang and born. I didn't know that, I knew Zendaya and I were like born the same year. I don't know who Lil Peep is. And I think I know who 6ix9ine is. I feel like he's that like Predator guy, the rainbow hair. But yeah, just wanted to talk about the cost because crazy. 96, only 30 years ago. Only 30 years ago. 30 is not that old. Ask me.
Ever notice how your grandparents were able to buy a home on one income, raise kids, take vacations, retire with a company pension, and still have enough money left over for a family of decorative ceramic gnomes in the front yard? Meanwhile, today, 2 incomes, side hustles, student debt, credit cards, mild existential dread, and a Costco membership you swear saves money but somehow costs you $500 every time you go in there. And despite working harder than ever, people still feel broke. Yeah, so naturally people say wages just didn't keep up with inflation. But here's the thing, I think that's backwards. Inflation matters, sure, but inflation is just the symptom. The real question we need to be asking is, why did work stop paying people a fair share of what they produced? Because workers didn't suddenly become lazy, did they? And corporations didn't suddenly wake up in 1997 and discover greed like, hey Bob, weird idea. What if we just paid people less? No, the rules changed. And once you understand what changed, a lot of modern life suddenly starts making sense. Housing, debt, burnout, gig work, even why people increasingly feel trapped in jobs they hate. So let's talk about it. Here's the explanation we don't talk about enough. Workers lost leverage. That's it. That's the headline. Because wages don't rise simply because life gets expensive. Wages rise when workers have bargaining power. Imagine it's 1975. Your employer desperately needs skilled workers. Jobs are stable. Union membership is stronger. Company pensions are the norm. Cost of living raises are more common. And replacing someone isn't easy. If your boss fires you, odds are you can find another decent paying job that same day. And if they can't replace you easily, you have leverage. Compare that to today. Gig work, contract work, precarious employment, fewer pensions, more lean staffing, more we're family here. Which, by the way, is corporate code for please emotionally attach yourself to this workplace while we avoid paying more. And suddenly, your leverage shrinks. Because if your employer knows replacing you is going to take 6 months and 3 recruiters, you've got power. But if they know there are 400 applicants on Indeed by lunch, yeah, suddenly that annual raise becomes a pizza party, maybe a stress ball with the company logo on it, possibly an email saying, we appreciate all that you do. I mean, nothing says economic dignity like getting a cold slice of pepperoni instead of a wage increase, right? And there's evidence behind this. Union participation has declined substantially over time, particularly in the private sector where workers' productivity continued rising. Meaning, workers kept producing more, but their ability to demand a bigger share weakened. That distinction matters because this wasn't workers stopped contributing, it was workers stopped having leverage. And that's the billion-dollar question. Actually, more like the trillion-dollar question. Because workers today are dramatically more productive than previous generations. Technology improved. Computers, software, logistics, automation. A worker today can produce far more economic value in an hour than somebody 50 years ago. So logically, you'd expect wages to rise alongside that productivity, right? If workers helped create more value, workers should benefit from more value. Except, wait for it, that largely stopped happening. So if the pie got bigger, where did the extra pie go? And this is where things get uncomfortable, because a lot of that wealth shifted upwards. Executive compensation exploded. Corporate profits surged. Shareholder returns became king. Companies increasingly focused on maximizing quarterly returns and stock buybacks. And suddenly success wasn't, how do we build a great company for our workers, customers, and our communities? It became, how do we maximize shareholder value? And look, companies exist to make money. I get it. I'm not anti-profit. But there's a meaningful difference between making profit and extracting everything humanly possible while workers tread water. Workers didn't stop baking a bigger pie. Somebody just changed who got the slices. Or to put it differently, the pie got bigger while workers still only got the crumbs. And then get told to cheer for record profits. Meanwhile, CEOs got compensation packages so large, they basically qualify as their own weather systems. And yeah, some people are making more, which brings us to something important. Not every sector experienced wage stagnation equally. Some workers absolutely saw strong wage growth. Certain skilled trades, healthcare specialists, engineers, tech jobs, scarce in-demand expertise. Why? Scarcity. Employers suddenly become very generous when they actually need you. Funny how that works out, isn't it? If replacing you takes months, wages magically become negotiable. But in sectors with huge labor pools, retail, food service, support jobs, hospitality, warehousing, customer service, the incentives often run the other direction. And this is where minimum wage enters the conversation. Because here's an uncomfortable truth. If companies are only legally obligated to pay the minimum, many will only pay the minimum. That isn't morality. That's just reality. So the minimum wage becomes the maximum effort employers were legally required to make. And before people yell, well, minimum wage jobs were only supposed to be for teenagers. That may well have been what they were supposed to be for, but today, millions of Canadians work minimum or near minimum wage jobs. And increasingly, they're working 2 to 3 minimum wage jobs and north of 40 hours a week just to keep their head above water. So ask yourself this, if somebody works 2 to 3 jobs and 50, 60 hours a week to survive, should they still struggle to afford housing, groceries, and survival? Because there was a time when minimum wage had considerably more purchasing power. Today, in too many places, full-time work still doesn't comfortably cover rent. Imagine telling somebody in the 1970s, yeah, one day people are going to work full-time and still need roommates at 40 years old. They'd think society broke. And honestly, I think it did. And here's the part nobody talks about enough. When people are financially trapped, they're negotiating from a weaker position. They're barely surviving. Because you can't negotiate from desperation. You can't. You don't bargain when rent is due next week. You don't hold out for a better offer when your kids need groceries. You don't walk away from a toxic workplace when missing one paycheck could sink you. That isn't leverage. That's survival. And survival changes behavior. People tolerate worse conditions, lower wages, longer hours, more instability. Not because they want to, because they have to. And this is why conversations about things like universal basic income keep coming back. And whether you love the idea or hate it, supporters argue something interesting. UBI gives workers something capitalism quietly took away. Leverage. The ability to say no to exploitation, terrible wages, abusive employers, desperation. Because if missing one paycheck means catastrophe, are workers fairly negotiating? Or are they negotiating with a metaphorical pew-pew to their head? And maybe that's the bigger question. Because the problem was never just inflation. The problem is that work stopped paying people enough to live with dignity. And once that happened, everything else got harder. Housing, families, savings, mental health, retirement, hope. And suddenly the question stopped being, why didn't wages keep up? And became, why do we continue to operate in an economy where full-time work stopped feeling enough? Next up, a brand new series focused on UBI, so stay tuned. Peace out. And if you're not already subscribed, you should be. It's going to be a ride.